Repeating that, I motion that we open tonight's meeting.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Okay. First item we have to consider, which was sent out by email earlier by member Mamie Panich, is our minutes from the last meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review? Okay. I'll go to motion that we approve the last meeting's minutes. Okay. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Under discussion?
Yes, I just would like to say that you did a fabulous job, whoever did the minutes, both of you. That for our purposes, though, I think that they should be less detailed. I mean, you can do this and then keep this for our records, but then for actual minutes for our meeting, if they should really be more condensed, just, you know, pretty much straightforward, just say, this is what happened, this was the discussion of what it was about, and this is what we decided. Discussion, you know, like that, rather than go into, you know, actual detail like this. It's going to be more than we'll be spending all our time reading, you know, so.
Happy to do that, but if you wouldn't mind in that case, if I could get a specific example of what you feel should be omitted, I'm happy to do that in the future. It's obviously much easier to leave detail out than to add it.
Okay, sure.
And, you know, you want to mark it up for me, I
Yeah,
will
I'll do
follow. That would be great. Thank you.
I'll do that for you, sure. And it's just a suggestion. I don't know if everybody agrees with that. I mean, I'm just putting it out there. I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone, but that's my opinion about it.
I think there's other ways to capture everything that is said, so if we can get it down to the meat, that'd be much easier for us
Yeah.
to review.
Yeah, now my aim has been basically that if somebody had not been here and wanted to find out what had happened and didn't want to spend an hour and a half watching a meeting, they could read this and get a gist of the discussion. And as I say, I'm perfectly happy to boil it down so that, you know, if somebody just wants to know how we acted on a matter, that's what's there. It's simpler, it's faster. So I'm good with it if everybody else is.
Okay, after the discussion, so all in favor of the minutes being approved?
Aye.
So with this being our January meeting, we've decided to do our officer selections for this year. So I'm going to motion that we take the items out of order and address item 4 first, just to get that out of the way.
Got
Okay.
second. Yeah.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? So here's Libby. We'll let Libby arrive.
Oh, that's right, and we have a new member. We need to introduce her to everyone.
Yeah, and we have a
That
new
would help.
member.
So I am Rosemary Arnold from the Concom Conservation Commission. So I'm taking Anya's place so that she can chair the Conservation Commission.
Do you know everybody here, or do you
I do not.
not? Okay, so
I
Mike,
do know Mike.
Mike, why don't you introduce yourself
Hi,
first?
I'm Mike Balsetti, White Housing Authority
Pleasure.
representative.
Ah, great.
Not an employee.
I'm Andrew McMahon. I'm the chairman.
I'm Marco Crescentini. I'm a board member. I'm on the local historical commission, and I'm representing the Holyoke Historical Commission.
My name's Kip Foley, and I was appointed by the City Council.
I'm Elaine Pluta, and I was appointed also by the city council, so I'm assuming that I represent the citizens of.
I'm Libby Hernandez, and I was appointed by the Holyoke Parks and Rec, as I'm a board member for them as well.
I'm Mike, and I know you.
So welcome.
Yes, welcome.
Okay, so today we will be electing for 2018 a chairman, a vice chair, a secretary, a treasurer. I believe we discussed the communications position before. Is there any others? Or just those 4?
Did we discuss making the
We discussed it, I don't know if we didn't decide on it, though. I think that's may have been what we decided on, actually, so thank you. So, for the 2017, I was both the chair and the treasurer. Ms. Elaine Pluta was our vice chair, and Ms. Mimi Panich was our secretary. I would prefer we split the chair and the treasurer for this coming year. I want to make notice my availability for treasurer. It is my expertise area is government finance. So for the first one, I wanted to nominate Ms. Elaine Pluta for the chairman.
I would second that.
Okay. Do we have any other nominations for chairman? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you, I think.
Okay, and for the vice chairman, I'm gonna need a... No? Yep.
No, thank you.
I've got too many obligations as I currently have, and
Mike?
Libby or Mike, either of you guys?
I think Mike has experience with this.
I second that. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Now for the job of secretary, I nominate Mimi.
Yes, second.
Okay, is there anybody else who wants to take a run? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Second, yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. 2018, there it is.
Thank you so much.
So that takes care of item number 4. You want to run the rest of the agenda?
Okay. So the next thing on the agenda is discussion.
Can we hang on a second?
Oh, sure.
We need to do something about these microphones because we've got to keep it
Isn't even on.
open to the public.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the sound. I've never heard that before.
Maybe
Maybe they're too close, or
They're
maybe
too close.
Okay.
That's what it is.
and maybe if we just go one at a time. I mean, I know it's easier if they're all.
You want us to shut them off and then speak?
Maybe when somebody speaks, just turn it on. It's just.
We've got to all remember, we've got to all remember when we are speaking to pass it around and turn it on, not just to take a minute and do that.
Okay, the second item on the agenda is discussion on informational mailings with the tax bill. I think the last that we left it was that we were waiting, to hear back to see if we had any money yet. I'm not sure what the story is, if our budget was accepted by the city council, because it was accepted and passed, okay. And so now, I'm wondering, letter that someone was gonna send to the mayor to ask him if he could front us some money so that we could start spending money. We can't do that mailing unless the tax collector's office wants to front us the money and pay them back. When we do have some, I don't know how we're gonna do that mailing. So, any discussion, update on that?
So our CPA budget was approved by the council, but the transfer of funds has not yet gone through. So at this point, we would have to kind of float the check until the collections start coming in to pay for the $1,000 mailings. So that's the state we are in, I think. So we would have to authorize the mailings, and when the bill comes in and say later in this winter that's, we hopefully start to have some collections in our account to pay that $1,000 off. And that's, we did mention that to the, I believe it was the tax collector's office that was here last month. They seemed okay with it.
Oh, she did, okay. Now, does the mayor have that letter yet, or is it in his hands yet, or is it still in the city council?
I don't have anything. Our next council meeting is next Tuesday, so maybe we'll see something then. It might come, you know, we you know how it works.
Oh, it didn't even come in on your agenda yet?
Right.
You didn't see anything like that on the agenda?
No.
Okay. So,
Who was doing the letter? I'm sorry. I know we discussed it the last time.
yeah, I believe that Ryan was
Ryan?
gonna do the letter.
I don't know, I didn't maybe get that, but you guys want me to, I can
Yeah.
write an email and just.
Well, yeah,
I
think
can
between
follow in on that.
Andrew and Ryan, yeah, we should have a letter done up in time for the next meeting so that we can at
Yes.
least have it set, and when it comes up at the meeting, hopefully they'll send it to the mayor for his, whatever, his decision, and then we'll know one way or the other where we are with that. Yeah, so,
You know how much you wanna ask for.
we had decided 10,000, if I'm not mistaken, yes, 10,000. And, the mailing itself, I'm gathering from what I read in the newspaper that there is no tax bill yet. So, do you see, Mike, any movement on that as far as what it might be happening, or are we gonna just wait for the final bill for one bill for the?
I think we're gonna be waiting. The last I heard was we expect the state to certify the free cash sometime in early February. So that's the last I've heard of anything.
Okay, so that's what you're waiting for, is that, and then, so that means that the next bill that will go out will be April, and that will be the bill for both the January and April bill.
For,
6
third,
months.
yeah, third and
The
fourth
third and
quarter.
fourth quarter.
Correct, yep.
Okay, so we have time. I'm pretty sure we had decided what the wording was gonna be.
Yes.
And so do we need to put that on a separate sheet of paper and give that to the, tax collector? He has it already?
One thing that occurs to me in light of this is that we may want to make minor last-minute corrections to reflect the fact that the numbers are going to change because the bill's going out so late. And, yeah, but otherwise, I think she has it.
Gave that to her.
We have the flyer floating around. I'll get it and we'll forward it on. I'll do that as part of the treasurer role.
And was it able to be converted
That's right.
over to, because I know I did the translation and everything was done correctly. I know that there was a question, I think, was it you, Ryan, to convert it over because it was done on an Apple computer, I think, or in another format. And then we were trying to convert it over to Microsoft Word, or was it PDF? There was something with the type of document that it was that was creating some problems.
Oh, the original document?
Yes, the original
Oh,
document.
okay.
I know that mine, I did it on Microsoft Word.
Yeah.
I opened it in PDF on Word myself.
Okay. So, I don't, I know.
I mean,
there
I
was
think
a
that would be
question.
sufficient to scan it over to her.
Scan it and
Yeah.
print it.
So you'll have to change the translation because they're gonna change.
If they modify
Yes.
the English version and what
Right.
we're saying, I'll just modify the translation.
So were we going from a 2 billing to a 1 bill for this year? All right. Yeah, so we'll have to look at that.
Just to complicate it even more. I mean, it's bad enough
Right.
that it was gonna be 2 billings for the whole year, now it's only 1 billing for the whole year, so that's gonna, I don't know how that's gonna go over, but,
And
there's
so-
not much we can do.
And so my question is it gonna make the contents longer? And are we gonna have to like probably modify the font? Because I know that we needed to have it like in a half a page, right? English on one side and Spanish on the other?
I think we should be able to fit it within.
Okay,
I think we'll just have to change the numbers.
just the numbers, okay.
You know, instead of, if necessary, 2 billings for the year, it'll be 1 billing because bills are going out at this time instead of this other time. But it should basically be the wording we already have, just using enough for people without their having to translate from the two billings to the one billing.
So if the city council moves forward on this quicker than we are anticipating, please make sure that we know about it as a committee. So when did she say now that they need the information? When was it for the January bill? It was December 1st?
Yeah, that was based on them mailing it already, which hasn't happened, and it's been delayed.
So if it was December 1st for January, then we probably need to get it in by March 1st for April.
I thought it was a 20-day lead or something, but
So give or take March 1st around that time, make sure we have that.
so just to recap, we are going to attempt to get an advance on our collections first before we ask them to float the bill.
Well, I think we should move forward with it, just in case we don't get that money in time. I mean, if things had gone right, we would have had money by March. I mean, February, March, we would have had some money. But it's not gonna happen now, and so we have to wait until the April bill goes out and people start paying, and maybe we'll get some cash flow here. So may have to put that, as you said before, we may have to put it in, and then when the bill comes in, hopefully we'll have cash, or our advance will be okayed, you know, we'll be able
Okay,
to get an advance. I think we should move forward on both fronts.
will do. Noted.
Okay, any other discussion on the tax bill? I think that we covered it. Let's move on to the website. Who has any information on the website, how that's going? Haven't
I can
heard from
speak a
her.
little bit to that.
Yeah,
Yes,
please.
please do.
If I can get the microphone from Mike here. So we had Eileen Pooler in for a meeting, and she was able to give some information, and I think there was two different ways that were discussed, two different ways to go about it. One was gonna be to have, I say a tab, sort of, like a tab that would be under, on the city website, so under all the other boards, there's, you know, I think there's planning, I think there's school committee, I think, so it would be to add a tab into that, sort of drop it in there with some generic information, and then, other than that, I don't know how you'd want to proceed with having somebody, if they wanted to create like a totally different website. I think a Facebook was discussed, I think there was a lot of different things, and,
So I think we have two paths here as well. We have the standard, the basic information on the city website, which we'd like to establish. And then down the road, when we have an administrative fund, we'd like to develop a better comprehensive CPA committee website. So the first thing is just getting our ability to post when our meetings are and the names of the members on the city website, which I think would be kind of almost standard city IT support.
yeah, definitely. So I was talking about the flyer information. I thought that would have been a good start. Maybe I wanted to run it by you guys and just see if that would, you know, just, I'm not sure if there is a Word document. I was unclear on that. If
There is, yeah.
So if there is a Word, so, I mean, I think that would be easy enough for Eileen Pooler, or, you know, she was able to give me some sort of authorization to that space on the webpage. Copy and paste it in there, make it look as nice as possible for just right now being a rudimentary
Absolutely, she's
beginning.
capable.
How about if I'll take that flyer and I'll make any corrections that need to be done on it, and I will send it to you, and you can her and let her know that we do want to set that up under the city's website.
Sure, I think it would be, you know, I'm not sure, you know, again, she's really doesn't have any affiliation with the committee right now. You know, other than that she was here, I think she wants to help out. That's just kind of where it is right now.
Clear to her that, yes, we do want to move forward on that. Go ahead.
Maybe we should work, one or two of us, to work with her directly and attempt to get something done between now and the next meeting, Because it sounds like, we had so much establishment work to do, and this just fell through the cracks.
Yeah, yeah, okay, all right, so, I'll do the flyer up, and you want me to run it by you guys, or, I mean, the flyer's the flyer. All I'm gonna change is the wording about how the bills are gonna bills changed, and we're only gonna have one. That would be the only thing
Yeah.
I would change on it, so.
No, it sounds good to me. I was just,
So I can do that, and then, so hopefully, maybe I should be in direct touch with her rather than go through you, Ryan, only because then I wanna find out how we can set up our meetings and stuff. Go ahead.
Madam Chairman, the flyer, so we're talking about a chapter in the story of the city of Holyoke every month that a person would go to find out how things are going or what we are doing. The flyer was a rather condensed version of that. Perhaps if we told a bigger story since space is not really that big of an issue online, if we expanded it a little bit more to put in a little bit more detail on how we got here, who initiated it. It's the child of the state. We voted on it. These are the things it's for, to give it more expansive view rather than a condensed view.
Well, I think that's a good idea, but originally, I think we're gonna go forward with that flyer, get that on there, and then if you wanna take a look at it and add some stuff to it and embellish on it, yeah, please, yeah, go right ahead and put some stuff in there and,
Well, the website would be, by nature, is more space, so we can actually put in almost a story that we were first introduced to the Community Preservation Committee and put it in there, and you can read it at your leisure, regardless of how long it is. I don't know how boring or interesting it is, but for those folks that want to get into the minutiae of detail of why we're here, who voted on it, its purpose and goal, into a little bit more detail, since anybody can go to it without having a condensed version.
well, you're right, and I agree with you, but to get it started, like tomorrow, I wanna get that flyer in there, I wanna get our meetings in there, when we're gonna do, and yes, and then as the days go on, if you wanna add more and put a whole story version in there, please, yes, feel free to do that, because, once we get it, we don't even have it established yet. We don't even have
But our story, but the statute is established and we're established. So as the citizens would find out what we're doing, why, and tell our story,
That's fine.
it may make the impact of the bill that they're about to receive a little easier to swallow than not.
Yes, yeah,
So I agree that we should strive to have as much information as possible, but is the input of the information, is that something that we are capable of doing, having a designated member with access, like a SharePoint that we're updating? Or are we gonna be relying on the city web maintainer to do this stuff?
He would have to go through her, that's my understanding.
So,
Let her do it.
Yeah, but she doesn't know our story, you'll have to give her the information.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, I'll basically take the highlights of when we first got our information as a committee of what it is, where it's from and why, and give it to her and say, this is what we are, this is what we do, this is when we meet, and let her go.
If I may, Ryan, she doesn't write text, she doesn't write out the text, you have to give her the information that you want her to put on.
No, I mean, so I think, so for me, for the city council page, or for other department heads, you basically get a sign-in, and it brings you to this aspect of the webpage. Mine's a little different. Mine was built in from when this website was just started or like totally renovated. So again, I would want to ask her to make sure that's true, but for most part, you would get, if there was a designee on this board who would have and it would say, when it was updated, it would give you last time, and you could kind of see, you would have somebody's thumbprint on it, whether it be ePluta at holyoke.org or something that says when you make changes on it. So I believe that's the way it would work. I could confirm that with her, but that's the way it works for me and other department heads in the city.
Wait a minute, but is
Other
it like a
department.
OneDrive that people can go in there and make updates or no?
I think that you probably could have a couple people with a pass, because you have to sign in, you have to log in to the webpage, and then there's like a dashboard, and you can put in any text you want, you can take out text, update things. You know, it hasn't been a totally smooth things. I think some people would say that. I think they're working on actually changing some parts of the website, which I think she said was kind of a good thing, that if we're gonna make this change now, it's kind of good that it's gonna be with other things kind of being updated and changed. But for the most part, if I would just, you know, sort of make it an educated guess, it would be that you would have, you know, maybe you'd be the designee as chair, and you could go in and make changes, or maybe there's a couple other people that could have a couple different names, but they would know who made changes, when, and you would have access to that as changes, I'm sure probably voted in through the board.
Okay, so, oh, go ahead.
No, and then we would, of course, then, because to be consistent, we would like to have it, whether it's in the mailing and in the website, in both languages, Spanish and English, also on the website. So, I mean, I would be more than glad to, you know, whatever is it that we're gonna present in English, I'll translate it.
Madam Chairman, would Libby and I, Libby, would you want to take on that task, the two of us? And we'll report back to Elaine on our findings and what we want to present?
That sounds great.
That sounds great.
And in the meantime, I'm gonna put that flyer on there and get it started, and then we'll go from there. And
Now, can we add also, because I know that in the different tabs with the different departments, they have like us as part of this board committee. Do we have like our information, these are the committee, you know, members? How does that work, like with formality?
Yeah, I mean, so just like for the council, you know, it has everybody's contact information. I'm not sure what kind of detail you guys would want to have on there, but, you know, we'd have your name. I would assume maybe you'd want your address on there, maybe a contact number, just an email address at the very least for feedback, but.
It might be helpful if it's possible for us to have, those of us who don't already have city email addresses, to have city email addresses for this purpose, just so we don't have committee work spilling over into personal email addresses, and for, you know, public reporting and general keeping everything clean and available for record keeping purposes. So if that can be done, that would be
so
great.
how can we access those? We would have to come here and.
Oh, no,
No?
no. Any email client ought to be possible to configure so that your city email just spills into whatever email client you're using, whether it's Apple Mail or Outlook, or whether it's just,
Add a new email address to your,
yeah.
but we have to get email.
But we would
addresses
need
somewhere.
for the city to add us to,
How do we do that?
Okay.
I would think that Eileen probably knows how to do that.
Okay.
I mean, if you're managing the city's website, you have to know how to add email accounts.
I think they were on Google. I think we all went to Google. And I believe you have to set that up with RT. We have two IT gentlemen over here. I know one's named Keith, and I think the other one is Andrew. But I can talk to them and see whether it's just you guys giving them the email address and just having them figure it out. I don't know how much time that would take. It seems to be kind of easy, but.
It shouldn't be a big deal. I mean, it takes 3 minutes to set up a Google email. I don't have a, no.
Or I have Google.
I have Gmail.
But that's what we're talking about, right, is
They're just holyoke.org.
email address.
Yeah,
But the Conservation Commission doesn't have that now.
yeah, and the board members mostly don't. I mean, I don't have one as a planning board member, but I think that if we were going to put our contact information out there, you know, I would much rather, for record-keeping purposes, have my city email being my city email and not have to go running through a personal Gmail account in response to a records request.
I'm sure it's just a matter of initiating.
Yeah, I mean, should be very simple to do.
Initiating it with who? Who do we initiate it with?
I would think, because I've had a few city councilors that have asked to have their email be made into to the city, and I believe it's the two IT gentlemen that work here. They're full-time here. I think sometimes you have to ask for a request because I think they run through HG&E, so,
Okay, so, can after the meeting, I want the contact information for Eileen
sure, yeah.
and for Keith.
Perfect, sounds good.
prefer not to have my personal email address in the library.
I agree.
Or my cell number. So,
I will contact them and, see how we work this all out and figure it out, because
Just to help you out with the personal aspect of it, I've used my personal email for city council for over 2 years now. I think I've had less than a dozen emails to reply to, so I don't think you have as much to fear that you're gonna be swamped with or bombarded with stuff. Yeah. And,
I had,
Yeah.
when I was a city councilor, I used
just to let you, it's your own decision, I'm just letting you know, it's not as big a deal as.
but if it's easy enough to do, I think it's a great
whoever
idea.
wants to do that, can do that. And I'll get the information for you, yeah, okay. I'll have that for you the next meeting. Okay, any other discussion on the website? Okay, we already did officer election, and, so now, under general discussion, I think we should talk about the two proposals that, we got for, and people keep using the word charter, and it's confusing me, because I'm thinking of city charter, and it's not, it's a plan, right? It's a city plan, it's not a city plan, it's a CPA plan for the city of Holyoke to, be able to, and we didn't have time to look at them before tonight, so my signal, go right ahead, yes.
Sorry, if I may, Madam Chair, because of previous discussion about whether or not it was even proper for us to be advising the other departments of the city on a procurement issue, and because I was advised by Andrew Smith and Alicia Zoller that time was really of the essence here, a week and a half ago, I spoke to Andrew about my impression of the proposals and looked at the scoring he had done. And my impression, although I did not talk to him again today to confirm this, is that given that the COG proposal clearly came out ahead on basic scoring principles, and they had done a Community Preservation Act plan, whereas the PVPC had not, their feeling was just to go ahead and contract with them, and they may well have done so by now.
So it's done? The last part, just the last part, yeah.
They may have gone ahead and made the offer to Alicia and Andrew and the procurement officials of the rest of the city. So, yeah, my impression was that you were concerned that we not have a vote on it.
No, my question is, did we have?
We need a,
This committee did not vote on it.
what, you need a microphone?
My question is, I thought, that being said, the work that had to be done by you folks was done, but when we got the recommendations, we would vote on which one we prefer as a committee.
Well, we weren't gonna vote, we were gonna just sort of make like a recommendation.
But we didn't,
type
well,
thing.
it's
But
fait accompli, I
It
mean,
didn't work out, our last meeting was canceled, and we weren't able to do it in time. I mean, Mimi mentioned it several times to say we need to meet if we're gonna go over this.
yeah, but we didn't meet.
We didn't, no.
Well, I mean,
So.
but
in
what
the
if the
meantime-
Congress didn't meet? I mean,
Well, but we don't really have an input in this, we were just gonna make our, advisors,
really?
a recommendation.
we've done nothing. We've done nothing.
Right, because of.
Well, that's unfortunate, since it's going to be a plan that we have to live with.
Well, they
We had
aren't
no
going
input
ahead
onto
with
which
the
one.
plan.
I'm
They're-
sorry?
They're not going ahead with the plan there until we talk to them and meet with them and everything. They're just being given the job of doing it.
Yes.
So they're already hired.
That's
This
my
is-
understanding, yes.
This is my understanding of what the proposed course of action was because of the timing. Now, I did not follow up this week to see whether that had happened, but it was certainly my impression that that was what was going to happen because we're running out of time. We were supposed to have the offer and the contracting done, some weeks ago, and I think that this got put off because they thought we might want to consult on which of the two bidders we preferred, but we didn't meet, and if this money isn't spent at, on a very short timeline, we lose it.
And Andrew
So-
reached out to us, he sent us both proposals on our emails and the scoring sheet.
No, I understand that, Madam Chairman, I understand that, but he didn't say you have to get back on me by tomorrow to vote on it. He just sent it to us. I was under the presumption that this was the evening that we would vote on it, since it's got to do with us. We have no input on which one we prefer of the companies that we would have to live with.
Right, but even if we did give some input, that doesn't mean that they have to necessarily listen to us, we were just advising.
That being said, we have no input, we have nothing.
If they
This
already-
committee.
If they already did it, yes.
Well, we could certainly go over it
Well, you
now,
put
and if
one
this
over on me on
isn't
that one.
done, then, if you disagree with the choice that they made, which, frankly, I thought was the correct choice,
I don't.
but, this is my misunderstanding. I thought in light of the, what I took as your vehement feeling that we should not be involved in the choice of contractor at all, that, there was a great deal of concern about our interference with this. And that, I will also say, if I had thought that there was more of a problem about who to choose, I might have pushed back more. But the scoring seemed very clear to me.
What was the
To you.
scoring, do we know?
Yes, he
Yeah.
sent it to us by email.
Okay, I didn't even,
It's a grid, he made a grid, just think.
Yeah, there were something like,
A nice grid
Yeah.
for us.
and if you see those blocks there where one bidder was clearly preferable to the other, and, this, you see 6 criteria on which the COG group came out ahead, and 0 where the PC came out ahead. And since they came in at the same price, and there were some intangibles that seemed to also favor the COG group, it just didn't seem like a problematic choice. But basically, ideally, certainly if we had met when we had planned to meet, it would have been great to go over it and make sure we had consensus.
Well,
Why?
But
the only concern that,
why?
Why?
Because
It's done. Why take up any more of our time?
okay, the only concern that he pointed out, as the
Yeah.
difference between two, is we will have to have more meetings with, the Boston group than we would with Pioneer Valley, because they're more, they're more aware of what's they've been working in this area so long that
Yeah.
they know what's the area and what's needed and blah, 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 so we wouldn't have to these guys from Boston, now we're gonna have to meet with them and really, explain
it's,
what's what to
Right.
them, because they don't know, they will do the work, but we have to give them
Yeah.
some starting points.
is
Go
there
ahead.
any way that we can pedal back on this and try to make a recommendation? We don't have to go with these people, right, with the COG people?
Well-
And
We don't have a choice, we're not making that decision, we're
Okay,
only
they are.
making
So we can make a
advisory.
recommendation, although they came higher on the grid, what about, that's probably
That was the only thing that he pointed out.
not a benefit, that we have to meet more with them,
Well-
rather a local PV.
But they don't have any experience doing the plan.
Yeah, the other thing.
This is not rocket science.
Yeah,
It's basic planning. There's nothing, this is not Hope 6.
it is,
It's nothing involved like that, not hardly.
it is different, and.
So,
but
these
I'm
guys can
not-
handle this.
I haven't made up my mind, because I didn't read these yet, I just got them tonight, so I
mean, why
haven't
bu-
made up my mind who I would have recommended, I don't know, all I read was the grid, and I'm just pointing out the differences between the two that he pointed out to us, and it was up to us to make a recommendation.
Actually, the thing that-
Yes.
Can you
Yeah.
remind me, this is being funded by a grant that was procured by
The mayor's
by-
office,
and by Andrew?
Yeah,
By Concom.
So
it's a community development block grant.
so there's a grant and public procurement process associated with that grant, and they're complying with it, it happens to be, we benefit from it, so they asked us to advise whether or not we had a preference, but in my mind, it's get nothing but a benefit from either one of these, so if they want to pick one, They did the work for the grant.
And their,
I don't think
and
they-
their money, on their dime.
I'm
CDB,
sorry?
And it was done on and it was done on CDBG money, so it didn't,
So, I mean, I think we should just be grateful that.
I think we should-
someone's come up with 10 grand and done the work.
I think
and
15 grand.
Consultant help us write a plan.
And, yeah, right, because we could discuss this for hours, and all we're gonna do is an advisory thing, and, they would still make up their own minds, probably to do what they were gonna do, what they already did if they did it.
And I guess we would have to have pretty persuasive arguments against it, and
I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of, different ideas and thoughts about
Well,
what.
it looks like there's a very tight deliverable timeline here, and we lost basically the month of January to weather and other instances, so I'm okay with it.
Okay, so, how can we find out? I mean, can you find out maybe tomorrow? Yeah.
Find out what was done and let the committee know whether this is actually underway or not.
If it's not done, we could have, a meeting Monday or Tuesday next week. In the meantime, we can read these if you want and have a discussion at that point and make our advisory, decision, and then they can take it or leave it, if they haven't done it.
Okay, I will find out tomorrow.
and if they don't think that it's in violation of the procurement process.
Well, it
for us
wouldn't
to
be as long as we're advisory.
I don't know, that's what I'm asking.
No,
That
as
seemed
long
to be
as
what
we're
Amy was
advisory.
saying earlier, that there was some question of whether or not we should be even interfering in the procurement process.
We're not interfering, we're just making a recommendation.
We had nothing to do with the,
What I heard, I misheard, did I?
No, I was not clear on it myself, because when this came up, my first thought was that we ought to have people sitting in on these discussions from the beginning, because it was going to be our work product. And I think it was Mike who said, wait, there's a procurement process, and we don't want to muddy that up. Our involvement might not be proper at all.
I wanted to get it clarified, if we had the legal authority to sit on it. That's what I wanted. I didn't say, I didn't want to have us here. I wanted to know if there's a legal basis for us to be there. That was my point.
Okay, well, I misunderstood it, and what I got was a great deal of concern about whether it was even proper for one of us to be aware of what was being proposed. And eventually we decided, I thought at least, that it was reasonable to have one designated member seeing the stuff as it came in, but that we didn't have final procurement authority and ought to be very careful not to overstep that authority. So that was the grounds upon which I proceeded from there. As far as I know, it still is their authority, and I know they care about not making us unhappy by selecting somebody we can't live with. But, I did read these over as they came in, and although certainly, PVPC, where, as a planning board member, I'm actually a commissioner, is very good and very aware of, Holyoke and the region and its issues. There are advantages with the COG group, one of which is that they've done this before. Another, to me, is that sometimes the fact that you don't know something allows you to see things that people who've been involved with a project for years and years don't see. But the other really salient detail to me is that PVPC's idea is to put together a draft plan and then hold our necessary public hearings on it, whereas the COG group wants to hold the public hearings and then develop the plan based on what the public has to say, which I think, to me, because this was very much a grassroots process getting this adopted, making sure that there's no buy-in to a proposed plan before the public has had a full opportunity to participate struck me as a really preferable way to go about this. And, although I didn't have the decision-making authority and tried to stay out of it, to the extent that I could, if I were discussing the proposals now and we did have the authority, those are the points I would make about it.
So, I guess that's how we'll leave it then. If, we'll find out if the decision's been made and, find out tomorrow and, having discussion about this, or?
Well,
It depends, right?
Yeah.
We can?
if it's
This
done,
is-
if the deed is done,
Well, that's what I'm saying. If it's done, it's done.
Right.
But if it's not done,
sure.
can we meet Monday or Tuesday?
Certainly.
And have a discussion about just these two proposals and then make a recommendation to them. And
I
Yeah.
would prefer Tuesday. I don't know what's the preference for everybody else.
Tuesday's the
city council.
Oh, that's right.
Tuesday's the city
Tuesday,
council.
city council.
And so,
I could be here.
And do you have a meeting before the city council?
We don't have anything scheduled right now.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, if this is the only item on the agenda, if we met at 5:30,
That would be the only thing on the agenda.
meet 5:30 to 6:15, or whatever the,
you could do it 6 o'clock would give you plenty of time.
Yeah, I'll just have to check whether I have a planning board meeting. If I do, I can't do it on Tuesday. But I will find out whether we have anything on the agenda.
Well, if we do something Tuesday and you do have one, then you already made your point.
That's true. Yes, yes, you don't need to hear me say it twice.
Yeah, okay, all right, so we'll just have to wait and see whether, they made their decision or not, and if it's done, it's done, I'll make sure between myself and Ryan to let everybody know what's going on. Right, so anything else on that?
Just as everybody thinks about it before next Tuesday, if that's when it is. As I understand this, and you can correct me, Elaine, if I'm wrong on this, regardless of which one of these, they're going to give us to this as a plan. It's up to us to adopt a plan. We can make changes in it. We can do other things. It's a working piece for us. It's not something that's being jammed down our throat. This is what it is. This is the way you're going to do it. You know. So okay. So we're all clear on that. And as far as just, I've looked it over briefly. From what I've seen of the COG plan compared to the PVC, it's head and shoulders over it, not just a few bullet points. Also, I've seen recently a couple of plans that have come to the city from PVPC that I think are absolute rubbish. I wasn't impressed with them at all, so.
Well, here's the thing, we're gonna have a discussion about it and whatever the majority rules, so.
exactly.
It may be for one, and we may vote for another, so. Anyways, we'll see what happens. Okay, so is there any other general discussion items that we need to take up on that we talked about? Is there anything? Yes, Monique,
Yes,
go ahead.
there is. The rules and regulations for the committee, based on the East Hampton, I did put together a draft, and in the process of doing it, I mean, you have a draft, and it has some brackets in it in various points. There were a few places in going through where I thought, maybe we should have talked about this and we didn't. And one of them was, for instance, potential term limits. And there were a few other places where I thought, I vaguely remember that the ordinance that established this committee might conflict with what we decided to put in the rules. And it took me a while to run down a copy of the ordinance, but I did find one. And in fact, sure enough, the ordinance specifies that, for instance, a majority of a quorum is sufficient to make a decision. So we might want to modify the rules we agreed on to actually conform to our ordinance. And I put those things in brackets. And once it's done, the ordinance requires us to run this by legal, and then they can file it with the city clerk's office. And it's up to you all whether you want to read through this now or take it home and look at what's in brackets, and we can vote on it in the next meeting.
That makes a lot of sense. Everybody make sure they get a copy of both the draft and the ordinance.
Yeah, I think that I have the stack of them sitting here. So there's the ordinance.
There's the draft on the ordinance. And how about a draft over here?
Oh, that's minutes. This is. Okay, who needs these?
We just need the draft, right?
He needs the ordinance, she needs the draft.
And I need
Okay.
Thank you.
And our newest members, you got those?
Yes.
down there? Got those?
Yes, got it. Madam Chairman? Madam Chairman, our next meeting is when?
Yes, that's our next discussion, is to decide when we'll meet. This is for our full agenda, not the next week. So I would like to propose that we should meet at least every 2 weeks if we can. I mean, we need to get stuff done here. We're running out of time. We need to have everything done by at least June 30th, so because then we're starting another fiscal year and we need to start all over again. So, we need to get to work here, so, I'd like to, set it up that at 2 weeks from tonight, doesn't the ordinance committee usually meet?
Yeah, every Tuesday, every other Tuesday, almost every Tuesday in a month usually, we have a meeting with the
Oh,
ordinance.
it's because this is a fifth Tuesday. Oh,
Exactly.
okay, all right, yeah. So we really, this is, unless, let's see, they start at 6:30, huh?
Yeah. Now, I in general can't do it on Tuesdays because we have planning board and we start at 5:30. And we frequently add in extra meetings, so we're sometimes meeting once a week.
We meet with them too, so.
Yeah.
So, probably Monday night. Is Monday night good for everybody?
I can only say that a lot of times for Mondays, and I know, so Joe McGivern just has started as chair of the finance committee, and I know that he's trying to instill having meetings be, okay, this time every month, so. But Mondays I typically are for finance, if you want to get something in.
Right.
Wednesday
Okay.
and Thursday is what I would say. are
But
most-
Monday, the week of, what about the Monday of the week of the city council meeting? Or are you talking about the Monday of the city council meeting?
I'm saying,
They don't meet
I'm not
every
sure, I'm not sure what Joe wants to do, but a lot of times when they need to get something in for a full city council meeting, they'll have a meeting that Monday before,
Right.
go on as like.
So we
way to
could
get
meet the
position.
Monday in between then, maybe.
Let me talk to Joe.
The thing is that we have to fit in here Monday or
Right.
Tuesday nights. I mean, we gotta get in.
Wednesday and Thursday
Yeah.
doesn't, that doesn't,
I think we've been pretty successful for 7 months with Monday and Tuesday between the city council meetings.
I mean, we could meet on a Thursday, I suppose.
No.
See, I think we've been through this already. That Monday and Tuesdays is the best night for
I
us
just want to check with
as a
him, make sure.
group.
but
Yeah,
If we were to
they
meet the
shouldn't be able to take every week now.
No, if we were to meet the second and fourth Monday or Tuesday, it would fit in between.
Oh,
You mean the night of the city council meeting, meet before the city council meeting? What do you say?
The city
No,
council.
first and third is the city council, okay. The
Yeah.
second, but that's ordinance. This ordinance meets on, the opposite Tuesdays from the city council meeting. The second and fourth is ordinance. Yes, ordinance, yes.
Ordinance on Tuesdays, right?
Tuesday,
So
right.
if we were to go to the second and fourth Monday.
Monday, yes, that's what I'm trying to get in there, the
Right.
second and fourth Monday.
That's right.
Yes. Not the Monday, the first and third Monday is the night before the city council meeting, which then the finance
Committee
committee
meets.
could meet. But they can't have the second and fourth.
So what I've been trying to do is when you guys make a date, just let all
Yeah.
the council chairs know.
Just,
So
yeah.
that hopefully they can, that's the plan around it, I mean, is there chambers, but.
And we could always meet, can we meet earlier maybe at 5:30? 5:30.
I have it ahead of time. Yeah,
Just-
everybody
well,
here
we're
is
gonna
for
plan it.
5:30.
We're just gonna plan it the second and fourth Monday of every month
Okay.
at 5:30. And everybody can put that right in their calendar now, and we'll just, and I mean, we can always change that as we go along if we don't need to meet or something, or we need to meet earlier like we might have to next week, we can always do that, so,
Okay.
yes.
Do
Mike.
we have to give the same, what's the notice?
48 hours.
48 hours. Okay.
Yes, yes. So if we do meet Monday, you'll have to put it in by Thursday?
Thursday.
So we need to make sure we get in that we're meeting next Tuesday.
At the next, Oh,
Well, our
this-
special
special
meeting,
one
we
for the
still have to do a
proposal.
notice.
Yes, yes, right, okay, so how does that?
If we might need.
Yeah, if we do. Now, the second and fourth Monday, where are we in the month here now? So that would mean next week we don't meet, because that would be the first
Right.
Monday. So we'll meet, that will be good, it'll be almost 2 weeks, it'll be 2 weeks from now. Okay. Our next meeting, I don't know what the date is. I gotta-
I feel like it, what is it, the second?
And Mike, we do have a special meeting that next Tuesday. Next Tuesday.
Do we want,
The 12th?
oh, you have executive session? When does that start?
I thought they said 6:30.
Okay, so 5:30 then. We have to be, we don't have to be on TV, right? Do we have to be on TV?
I don't think so. I think it's, I think you have to have the recording, not.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
This is kind of nice.
I'm
'cause
just
it fits.
trying to make it simpler for you so that you're not, but you're gonna have to set it up that night anyway, so.
Right, and we have a
Yeah,
little
so
more help
that-
right now. We have a little more IT support downstairs.
Okay,
where the
so
media stuff is.
whoever wants to have that discussion, if we're going to have that discussion, make sure you're here then, next Tuesday.
For the proposal.
5:30 for the proposals,
Okay.
if we need to do it.
Madam Chairman, are you gonna, should you find out if the deal is done
Yes.
and it's not necessary, would
Right.
you would email us and let us know?
I will do that.
Okay, thank you.
You know, unless you wanted to go Monday, I mean, because if you guys are gonna know this answer tomorrow, I would just have to post, I believe. I think it would actually be Thursday if you wanted to have the meeting on Monday, if that was less of a. Just to read them.
We'll know by tomorrow whether they work.
Yeah,
Yeah, we already decided Tuesday, so let's not change it.
Sure, we have nothing scheduled,
Yeah.
like I say, for the council.
Okay. What do you mean?
That's the 5th.
Tuesday at 5:30 is okay, we're good with that?
That's February 6th?
I believe so.
February
I believe
6th.
that'll be-
February 6th.
Yeah, if necessary.
If necessary.
Okay, so, then the next meeting is. Okay, so. Well, yes, you're right. 12th will be our next regularly scheduled meeting
At 5:30.
at 5:30. February 2/6 at 5. Proposals. Okay. Any other discussion that we need to? For everybody, and I'll have a motion to,
make a motion, we adjourn?
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Good night.